认为共产主义社会就是共妻是天大的误解. A huge misunderstanding to believe that a communist society means wife sharing. Xiefeng, October 13th, 2011. Translation edited by Jiejing. Some people live with their heads down. When they look straight ahead, all they see is garbage. When they look up, they mostly see the underside of people. Those who claim that a communist society must be a wife-sharing society are people who live with their heads down. Is a communist society a wife-sharing society? Of course not. In a communist society, there is no concept of marriage or family. Without the institution of marriage and family, there are no husbands and wives, so how could there be wives to be shared? The notion that there will be wife sharing in a communist society is a huge misunderstanding. This is a misperception based on the current state of human society, which is structured around the institution of marriage and family. These people assume that in a communist society, everyone's spouses would have to be shared. They fail to realize that in a communist society, there is no institution of marriage or family, thus eliminating the basis and context for wife sharing. To truly understand a communist society, one must first familiarize oneself with the following authors and their works. Plato, The Republic. Thomas More, Utopia. Edward Bellamy, Looking Backward. Olaf Stapledon, Last and First Men. Francis Bacon, New Atlantis. Tommaso Campanella, The City of the Sun. William Morris, News from Nowhere. Samuel Butler, Erewhon. Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. George Orwell, 1984. B.F. Skinner, Walden 2. Herbert Marcuse, An Essay on Liberation. Henri de Saint-Simon, The New Christianity. Charles Fourier, The New Industrial World, The Theory of Universal Unity, The Passions of the Human Soul. Robert Owen, A New View of Society and Revolution in the Mind and Practice of the Human Race. Marxist Philosophy, Political Economy, and Scientific Socialism. Confucius' Description of the Great Unity in the Book of Rights. Kang Yue, The Book of Great Unity. Merely understanding the aforementioned authors and their works is far from sufficient to fully grasp the characteristics of a communist society. This is because all these authors conceptualized and pursued their ideal societies within the context of a human society structured around the institution of marriage and family. Although their ideas transcend reality, they still assume in their understanding that a communist society evolves from a society structured around marriage and family. Therefore, their descriptions of ideal realms are incomplete and fragmented. The term communism was preceded by the concept of utopia, which is considered an unattainable, idealistic society. The works of authors such as William Morris, Samuel Butler, and Aldous Huxley are essentially anti-utopian in nature. However, as Oscar Wilde, a proponent of the aesthetic movement and a renowned British writer, poet, playwright, and artist, once said, "A map of the world that does not include utopia is not worth even glancing at." He often quoted, "We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars." Those who claim that the second home established by Life-Genuine advocates, wife sharing, are people living in the gutter. Years ago, some people claimed that the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese Workers' and Peasants' Red Army, which they led, were promoting wife sharing. When ordinary people heard about this, they imagined their own wives being shared, which led them to slander, oppose, and resist the Communist Party. What was the reality? The Communist Party has never promoted wife sharing. Although there were instances of extreme wife-sharing phenomena in the history of the Soviet Communist Party, these were only isolated and temporary occurrences. We cannot label a person as a sore just because they have a sore spot, can we? To be honest, the second home created by Life-Genuine is the utopia that people have idealized and the communist society that people have strived for. While the sages and philosophers in history only thought and envisioned, we have managed to turn people's ideals into reality. Does the second home practice wife sharing? Of course not. In the second home, there is no concept of marriage or family, and naturally, there are no husbands and wives. Once someone enters the second home, their previous marital ties are dissolved, and they embark on a new life. Wife sharing is a deceitful and reactionary tactic used by ignorant, backward, and despicable individuals to incite the public and attack civilization. This tactic is particularly effective in stirring up public sentiment and creating a sense of crisis. Pseudo-intellectuals who cling to traditional ideas use this simplistic slogan to provoke outrage and hatred, thereby hindering progress towards a more civilized and ideal society. However, no matter how vile and evil people are in demeaning and insulting the utopian communist society of the second home, the human pursuit of freedom and an ideal society cannot be halted. The second home of today will serve as a model and example for all of humanity. Let those who live in the gutter, with their heads down, slander the second home with accusations of wife-sharing, lament and howl hysterically. We will not be intimidated. In the kingdom of heaven, they neither marry nor are given in marriage. In the kingdom of the greatest creator, there are no husbands and wives. The second home is a replica of the thousand-year world. Tomorrow, when the sages of the world come to understand the second home, all of humanity will rejoice. Only those who are pests to human civilization and claim that the second home promotes wife-sharing will be left feeling ashamed, finding a crevice that leads to hell and cursing there.